in healthcare, really interesting topic. Obviously, it's huge across the health ecosystem. There are some big macro challenges that healthcare providers of any description are facing. We've got an ageing population. We've also got a growing population. We've got all sorts of services that are in continuous demand. Sometimes they're overwhelmed, sometimes they're underused. It's really difficult to get that balance right about how do you be efficient and flexible at the same time. There's lots happening in terms of personal healthcare as well. I mean, the current kind of situation that we're in, with restrictions and obviously people having mental health has become much more prevalent about people taking care of themselves. There's all sorts of new apps popping up about mindfulness and wellness. We've got wearable technology. You can check your heart rate. You can check every second of the day how you're doing in terms of managing your own health. So there's a broad spectrum again across healthcare of how do we best support patients? How does digital maybe help improve some of those processes? It certainly feels for me that some of those really basic processes aren't quite there sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's a load of good points. I think for me, some of them are kind of fundamental, right? We just need more doctors, things like that, where digital can't really help. But maybe where it can help is in some of the lower level processes. The things that still are quite kind of old school admin. Because of the kind of structure and probably also the funding of the NHS, where actually automating some of those services might actually enable us to free up some budget for more doctors, things like that. I think there probably are opportunities within the kind of core problem, as well as within some of the specific areas. So, for instance, if we look at you were talking about the amount of data we can have on our own health now. And it's incredible. Like I've got a few apps on my phone that I use. My watch tracks my activity, my blood pressure monitor tracks my blood pressure and automatically sends the results to my doctor. Things like that are fantastic. That mean we're probably more aware than we ever were of our own individual current status, of our health, which is a great place to be, right? There's still a lot more we can do.
Yeah, I mean, it creates so much data. And that data, as part of the bigger picture, could do so much about predictive medicine, for instance, or who needs access to care and who doesn't.
That's a really interesting point, and I think to both of your points, you're right. There is so much data. We can now see our heart rate. We can track our sleep. We can do all of this stuff. We can understand ourselves more. But it's not necessarily humanising the problem, or humanising solutions to the problem, I should say. And actually, I think in a lot of instances, if you look at a lot of the well-being things that are going on in the world, whether it's meditative apps such as Headspace, or whether it's your Apple Watch being able to kind of tell you more about your health, or a lot of things that come with that, there isn't an awful lot of helping people understand what to do with that information, how to get help, and then actually facilitate that help through digital means. And I think to your point, the kind of predictive nature of that is something where we're really lacking, especially on the mental health side.
I think it's interesting. Digital in so many ways has answered mental health problems with the apps that you've mentioned, but I think we still need to address that on the human level. What is our human response to mental health? Because we don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about it. So though I, as an individual, can look at my phone and find answers and apps to support me, what is the broader answer to help me longer term to resolve it? And I think that's something that maybe still needs to be addressed, is kind of the human response to mental health as a conversation.
I think that's an interesting point, and I think taking that a step further, I think the question is, how do I talk to anyone about any of my health data? Because right now, like I said, I've got a progressive modern surgery with a progressive modern GP who actually said, I'll get that app, and you can send me your blood pressure readings. And so we do that, right? It's not through the standard NHS systems because they are not built to take it. So while we're getting a proliferation of of hardware, of monitors and things like that we can all buy and stick in our homes and measure everything and all of that stuff. How do we get that data to someone who can do something with it? But also, how do we lighten the burden on them? We don't want them to have to look at all of it. We want them to actually just, automated flagging, let's say, of something that looks like it may be a problem. The risk there is as soon as you take things too digitally, you still need human intervention somewhere. So the question is, how do you do that and how do you share that data? Right, the technology's there. The uptake is a problem. There are certainly some things we can do around that. But I think, going back to Henry's earlier point about the human aspect, it's a very delicate thing to try and figure out how to blend technology and humanity in care. We've got a number of pieces of hardware, a number of devices, a number of monitors that we can buy, that are available, or even get given. That can help us to provide more data to understand our health situation, which is great, but actually, we're still people. There are still people behind this data, and actually caring for that person in the right way is not just about looking at their data. It's about understanding them as well. We touched on the mental health perspective too, but how do we more carefully balance the needs of a human with the technology?
Yeah, I think it's about creating experiences that aren't replacing human interaction with technology. It's actually harnessing that technology to create more human experiences.